As you can tell, I'll take any surface or any kind of thing I can take in order to teach a lesson. So on this, I'm just using a stainless steel prep table and a dry erase marker. At least I hope it's a dry erase marker. It's going to stay here a long time. I'd like to tell you a little bit about leavening agents. Leavening agents are things that are used in baking in order to make things rise. And so we've made cookies and shortbreads and pie crust and pâte à choux, or what you would know is eclairs or cream puffs. And so I'm going to take you through those steps and those things that we use for leavening agents. First leavening agent is pretty common to people, and that's a chemical. A chemical leavening agent, probably the most common one that you would know of, would be baking soda. And baking soda is commonly found in the making of cookies and sometimes quick breads. The other one that falls in the chemical line is baking powder. Now, baking powder is kind of a unique thing, because baking powder is the combination of baking soda and tartaric acid, or what we know as cream of tartar. Now, you'll find cream of tartar a common ingredient in some cookies that you want crisp. It makes cookies crisp. So it's actually the combination of these two ingredients that actually make up baking powder. If you go online, you can actually find recipes for making your own baking powder using baking soda and cream of tartar, or what we call tartaric acid. And again, the common things that you would find for that would be cookies and quick breads, such as zucchini bread, which obviously must be healthy for you because it has vegetables in it, or banana bread. Now, the next leavening agent I want to talk about is biological. And a biological leavening agent, most common, would be yeast. And yeast, we use it primarily in breads. And from that yeast, it works with gluten. So if we're talking about making bread, it works with the protein in the wheat, which is gluten. And with that gluten, it forms these strands that help hold the carbon dioxide gas in the transformation of sugars and yeast into the alcohol process. The spent product causes that carbon dioxide gas to rise the actual bread. And so for this one, we have bread. The other thing that we make with it is sweet doughs, especially for like danishes, sweet dough. The third one is mechanical. And a mechanical leavening usually contains egg whites and it can also include egg yolks. If we look at egg whites, one thing that we whip under mechanical, it means that we're whipping it. And so when we whip air into the egg whites, we always want to make sure that there's no egg yolks present, because one of the things that's present in egg yolks is oil. And so if you have any oil in your egg whites, they won't whip up. And so really making sure that if you were to separate your eggs to make, say, an angel food cake, you would want to do what we call a 3-bowl method. So you would have 3 bowls. And what the 3-bowl method is you crack one egg and you separate it right here. You separate the egg yolk out from the egg white, and if everything looks good, you transfer your egg yolk to here, and you transfer your egg white to here. Then you do that repeatedly with each egg. If you were to do this all in one bowl and then separate your eggs, all of a sudden that last egg, on that last one, all of a sudden you break the yolk and then you get 1 or 2 little drops of egg yolk in there, will cause your volume of egg whites to not whip up as strong. And so you want to be careful of that. The other thing, when you're looking at the mechanical leavening, another thing we use is a genoa cake. And that's where we take the egg whites and whip them up, and we take the egg yolks and whip them up separately with the sugar, and then hand fold those in together with actual flour. And it's all very carefully hand folded in. And finally we have physical. Physical refers to steam. If we take a simple recipe of flour, butter, water, and finally eggs, we come up with something called pâte à choux. Or we refer to it as shoe paste. Not as in like the shoes that you wear, but as in pâte à choux. And the reason we call it pâte à choux is because we make several things from this. One, we can make eclairs, which would be filled with a pastry cream filling and also ganache top. Or we could make cream puffs and then dust them lightly with powdered sugar. So what happens here is we take the flour, the butter, and the water, and we mix this together. We bring that to a boil, and we start cooking that out. We start cooking that, and the more we cook it, and we'll show that in a demonstration, the more we cook that, the more steam that comes out, and this dough ball forms inside the pot. And so this dough ball will actually form inside the pot and start pulling away. The more we do this, the more evaporation of liquid we will have. On a pâte à choux recipe, a lot of times you'll see a variation of how much egg is used. Like we'll say, for instance, 4 to 6 eggs. The reason that variation is there is a couple things. One, how old are the eggs? The older the eggs, the less content in the actual egg. How big are the eggs? And they're usually always referred to as large eggs is what we use. And then finally, how long did we let this steam out? How much liquid came out of there? Then we add these together, and you'll see in the demonstration that when we add this together, we're looking for a certain amount of peak to it. So I will take a spoon or a whip or something and put it in there, lift it up, and if it kind of holds its shape and then kind of slowly, ever so slowly goes back to a flat, we know we need one more egg, and we'll throw one more egg in there. So know that this is a variable, and that's why you'd have a variable. Notice there's nothing in here in the way of sugar, and so there's not going to be any caramelization of sugars for the browning. Where we're getting the browning is the dextrinization of the flour right there, and it'll start to turn brown. Commonly what happens when people make pâte à choux using the physical leavening agent, the actual eclair or piped out thing will come up, and all of a sudden they'll take it out of the oven because it's this beautiful golden brown. They'll take it out of the oven and come back about 10 minutes later, and it looks like that, nice and flat. There's no way to put a straw in there and blow it back up. There's no way to take a bicycle pump and blow it back up. It's flat, and it doesn't happen. Usually what happens, we put it in at a 425 degree, or what we refer to as a fast oven, and we take and bring it up, let that steam expand the actual dough, and from there we take and drop it down to a medium heat oven at 350 degrees. And then let the inside contents dry out. We'll take that actual shell, tap on it, should sound nice and hollow. You'll still have a few remaining things inside, but you can clean those out before you fill them. I hope this has been helpful. Again, 4 common leavening agents: chemical, biological, mechanical, and physical. Thank you for watching.